Manchester United 2, Rangers 1. United take a massive step towards automatic qualification to the knockout stages of the Europa League in what was a hard-fought game against Rangers. In a game that was filled with drama, nervy moments and some quality goals, Ruben Amorim's side do just enough to get the victory. So what are the key talking points in this game? Well, we've got 5 of them. Let's break them down. Number 1, a win. A win was, I suppose, what was most important last night, guys, in the Europa League. And, you know, we do know that qualification automatically in the top 8 is what's most important. And as we can see here by the league table, getting that last-minute goal last night moved us from 9th up to 4th. So, I mean, it was huge. It really, really was. And, look, we know that automatic qualification is what United want. And I think that last minute goal last night pretty much all but sealed it. Now look, there is work to do in the final game. You know, I think a draw will guarantee us that, you know, the automatic qualification into the top 8. And I think more than anything else, you know, getting into the automatic qualification spots means that we've got more time on the training ground. And that is what's most important for Ruben Amorim at the moment. You know, we've seen a lack of, I suppose, training and a lack of real improvement over the Christmas period, given the fact that you just can't do training sessions. You really can't. And I think it's vital that Ruben Amorim gets as much time with these players. Look, we can see it week in, week out. The performances are not great. It's a brand new system. Players are struggling with it. Some players are not good enough. Some players, you know, are just not getting it. I do think there's a slight improvements every week in certain aspects. However, consistency levels are not there when it comes to what Ruben Amorim is trying to do. And if we can get automatic qualification from the Europa League, then it means we don't have to play 2 qualifying rounds to get into the last 16. You're straight through to the last 16. And that's more valuable to Ruben Amorim than anything else, in my opinion. We know that the Europa League is one of the competitions now that United can really go for. And I do think we should be prioritising it. I honestly do. Jose Mourinho was very smart back in 2017. And he said that he was pretty much sure that United's only way of qualifying for the Champions League was to win the Europa League, and he was right, and we went out and winning. And I think with this squad and with all of the changes that are coming and with our league position, I think that the Europa League has to be the priority to get back into the Champions League next year. I genuinely do. Now, does that mean that Manchester United are good enough to go out and win the Europa League? At the moment, you would say no, but stay in it, continue to improve, get into the last 16. You never know who you might get. I mean, United are one of only 3 clubs, I think, in the Europa League so far this season that are yet to lose a game. And, you know, I think it's us, Galatasaray and Lazio. Us, Galatasaray and Lazio are the only 3 teams that haven't lost in the Europa League. So, foundations to build on. Number 2, a long way to go. We're miles off it. We're absolutely miles off it. It has to be said. It really does. You know, when you look at the side that we played against last night, a Rangers side that, albeit they're second in the Scottish League is you know, not at the same level, of course, as the Premier League, and they're miles off of Celtic. And, you know, we do have to consider as well, you know, Rangers had some injuries last night and they finished the game with, you know, nearly an academy team on the pitch, and United still struggled in the end to actually get the job done. Look, I do think that there were improvements, and Ruben Amorim did say, you know, in his press conference last night that, you know, he did think there were improvements. You know, he said we did well, we played better with the ball, more connections, the speed with the ball. We lost control because of small bad decisions, but they did well. And look, I don't disagree with him, absolutely. I do think there were slight improvements, absolutely. But again, you know, we go back to what we've said before. It's the typical issues with Manchester United, not putting teams away, not, you know, taking our chances when they fall. He also says, we are far from our best, but we improved from the last game. I know the opponent is different, but they tried. You can see it. We did well from the time that we practiced. And that goes back to what we've said previously about time on the training ground. It really does. However, he does say we created the best chances to win the game and deserve to win. And also, we need to be more clinical. That can help us a lot. And again, that's the key here. Being more clinical. We had some good opportunities last night, and we could have easily put 4 or 5 past Rangers with the disallowed goal from De Ligt, which was a disgrace, by the way. You know, again, very poor refereeing, and, you know, we're seeing VAR not intervene in such easy decisions. I don't understand why VAR is here anymore, because we had these issues when VAR wasn't there, when referees made mistakes, and it's all, I have no issue with a referee making a mistake in game when games are going so fast and so on and so forth. VAR is there to overturn the mistakes that are being made, and they're not doing it. They're sticking with the on-field decision too much, and that needs to change. But we had chances. Harry Maguire had a really good chance from a header. Ugarte had a really good chance that he could have scored as well. So there were opportunities there and there were chances created. However, you've got to also realise that you're playing against a Rangers side that you expect to create chances against. You know what I mean? With all due respect to them. So while it was improvement in certain areas, we've got a long way to go. And we go into Fulham on the weekend. That's going to be an absolutely different kettle of fish. And they're going to be a much more improved side than the one that we played last night. So we need to continue to improve. Number 3, Toby Collier. I thought he was brilliant last night. I really, really did. I thought he was one of our best players on the pitch. And I put him up there, for man of the match, in my opinion, alongside him maybe and Garnacho as well. He's looked very composed coming in, and we've seen a couple of cameo appearances, didn't we, from him in the game against Liverpool in Anfield, and then as well at the Emirates in the FA Cup against Arsenal. He looks really composed on the ball, in fairness. Doesn't get too flustered. For a tall guy, he moves the ball very quick. He moves his feet very quick, which is something I'm very impressed with. I also thought his positioning was very good last night. He was always in the right area. Now, look, he did make one mistake in the first half that did nearly lead to a Rangers goal. It's going to happen with young players, of course it is. But I think on the whole last night, I thought he was very, very good. Looked just like he fitted into that Manchester United midfield, and a real opportunity now for him to go on and get some real minutes between now and the end of the season. I was very, very impressed with him. And more than anything else with Toby Collier, I think now for Manchester United, it frees up, maybe Manchester United a little bit to try and maybe move Casemiro on between now and the end of the January window. I know, what have we got, 7 or 8 days left between now and when the window closes, but seeing Toby Collier come in and really stake a claim for that number 6, that he can be rotated in and out and maybe be the backup to either a Menu or an Ugarte, it gives Manchester United that freedom. And look, we've seen Casemiro, he's not getting game time under Ruben Amorim. Why would Manchester United not really be pushing to get rid of him between now and the end of January, when, he's on so much money? And I love Casemiro, he's been a very good servant to United, but he's past his best and it's time for him to move on. But Toby Collier, I think now is, that real option for United, in that number 6 role to back up. And if he can continue to put in good performances, like he did last night, then I think he's going to get a lot more minutes between now and the end of the season. But I don't want us to be over reliant on him either, because exactly what's going to happen. If he plays 3 or 4 games in a row and 2 or 3 of them are poor performances, the pressure comes. We're seeing idiots with jumping on the back of Menu now, saying we should sell Menu because he's not good, and absolute wibble. But Toby Collier looks the real deal, in fairness to him. Again, very raw, very unfiltered, but I think the option to use him sparingly and as a rotation player between now and the end of the season is giving Manchester United a really good opportunity to do so. Number 4, Bruno Fernandes. I thought Bruno had a quite enough game, to be honest with you, by his standards. I mentioned it in the live watch along that he looked a little bit leggy, looked tired, and it's understandable given the work rate that he puts in on a consistent basis week in, week out. But again, he's the saviour for Manchester United, getting the goal at the end. And that's what the headlines will be around Bruno Fernandes. But I think more than anything else, and what I want to focus on here, is Bruno playing in the 6. I like Bruno playing in the 6 more so than I do in the 10, if I'm being honest. I think he gives us more options as that deep-lying playmaker. The last few games that I've seen him play there, I've been impressed with him. I really have. I think he's the one that can get the ball deep and progress it up the field. He still has that little bit of a frustration about him where he gives the ball away a lot, and I think he only had a 73% pass accuracy last night, and look, we're used to that with Bruno Fernandes because he's trying to create so often, but I think from a number 6 standpoint, I think he really gives us a good option there, and I think the defensive side of his game is better than Kobbie Mainoo. And Kobbie Mainoo is the second one that I want to get onto here, because I think Kobbie Mainoo, more than anything, I love Kobbie Mainoo, and a fantastic footballer. I would like to see Kobbie Mainoo playing the 10 a little bit more, in one of them number 10 positions. I think he can create a little bit more advanced up the field. We've seen him do that on a number of occasions since he broke into the Manchester United squad, and I would like to see him get a consistent run in the number 10, with maybe Bruno playing in the 6. And it's just a straight swap. You know, if you're going to play Mainoo and Ugarte in the 6 and Bruno and Ahmad in the 10s, I mean, just swap Bruno and Mainoo. I think, I'd like to see it. I really do, because I think Bruno gives us, a more defensive cover and more defensive work rate than maybe Mainoo does. Bruno can cover more ground. We know that Mainoo is not the quickest, and I think more advanced up the field. I think Mainoo can create in them little tight areas a little bit more than Bruno can. So look, again, fantastic that Bruno gets the goal, and you know, you want to see Bruno get more involved in goals and in assists now, because we've seen, going all the way back to Solskjaer and Rangnick, that kind of free role that Bruno had, and that was when he was at his most dangerous. And then when you bring in somebody like Ten Hag and now Ruben Amorim, who have a real structure to their side, and especially to their midfield, where you've got to hold your position, you know, it maybe takes a little bit away from Bruno Fernandes. So I think if we can get him into that 6, you know, when he's not going to be getting on the end of goals and assists as much as he used to, play him in the 6 and let Mainoo do that little, you know, intricate stuff up in the 10. But yeah, happy with both of them. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And number 5, Garnacho. I thought it was a very good performance by Garnacho last night. I really do. I thought he looked like a guy that was trying to prove a point, to be honest with you. And we know all of the rumours that are circulating around a potential exit from Old Trafford for Garnacho. But I thought he was brilliant last night. I really did. I liked the directness of him. He's constantly running at fullbacks. He constantly wants to get in behind. And we know he's very raw. You know, we know he's very raw, and maybe his decision making needs to improve, and he needs to pass a little bit more when, you know, he should not be shooting, and vice versa. But again, he's 20 years of age. He's got a lot to learn. He's still got an awful lot of development to go. And again, we go back to what we've said. He's probably the one that has the biggest learning curve out of anybody at United since Ruben Amorim has come in. But the one thing I would say about him is that his attitude seems very, very good, in fairness, you know, and that has come into question by a lot of people over the last maybe 12 to 18 months. What is his attitude like? But, you know, we've seen him being dropped by Ruben Amorim for the Manchester City game, out of the squad completely, along with Marcus Rashford. The following week, Garnacho gets brought back into the squad because he's got a good attitude, he's training hard. We haven't seen Rashford since, pretty much. So, you know, that's good from an attitude standpoint. But more than anything else, the guy's got talent, and he seems to want to play for Manchester United. I'm getting the hint from him that he doesn't want to leave. He's quite happy playing for United. You know, and we know that Garnacho is probably not going to be at United for the entirety of his career if he is to stay beyond this transfer window. You know, we know his ambitions. You know, he likes Cristiano Ronaldo. He probably wants to follow in his footsteps, but I don't see the benefit of selling a player like Garnacho so early in his development and in his career. But look, I mean, it's all down to the club at the end of the day. And to be honest with you, I don't think Ruben Amorim minds whether he goes or not, to be quite honest with you. He said last night when he was asked about it, about Garnacho, I think he has potential to be so much better in every situation of the game. What can I say? What I can say is he understood what I was trying to do. I just want to help them, but in the end, it's them to do the job. Now, he's not just saying this about Garnacho as well. He said this basically about the entirety of the Manchester United squad. He was also asked about, you know, Garnacho potentially leaving. He said, look, I'm focusing on the players we have. He's here at the moment. I'm happy with him, so on and so forth. I get the impression that Ruben Amorim would kind of be happy to let him leave, you know, and if you can get 60 million for him and reinvest that 60 million into maybe players that would suit Amorim's system a little bit better, then, you know, that would be the case. I just think there's better options to go out and actually get good money into the club. And I think if Manchester United were to sell Alejandro Garnacho, I think we would regret it. in a couple of years down the line. I honestly do. I think he's a very good talent. He seems like he's got the right attitude. He's working hard. He's trying to do his best when he comes onto the field every game. And he looks like he wants to improve all of the time, and that's the most important thing. But let's see what the next 8 or so days bring in the January transfer window. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys, about all of the talking points. If you've got any new talking points yourself or any points you want to bring up, again, let me know in the comment section. Please do smash a like on the video, hit subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.